So today, we're being asked to declare the results of the June 7th election as prescribed by law. And I just want to say that I still have some unresolved concerns about the accuracy of the ballot counting, and some of my concerns stem from the recent changes to the election process, including the all-mail ballots, the use of drop boxes, and the use of the machine tabulations. I don't believe that these changes that we made to our election process, or I believe that they make our elections less secure, and I've mentioned this many times over the last year or so. These concerns were discussed during our May 4th last year, May 4th, 2021 Board of Supervisors meeting, where 2,400 citizen signatures were presented at that meeting expressing the same concerns. So I want to say, as time's gone on, I still have those same concerns, and time goes on, so the elections continue. But in early June of this year, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which I'd never heard of before, but it's a federal agency to do with cybersecurity, released a report just in June, this couple months ago. And in that report, the report is titled Vulnerabilities Affecting Dominion Voting Systems ImageCast X, and I've been told our Dominion machine is a different machine than this particular machine, but the point is the vulnerabilities, and I believe in all machines if we're not careful. So it goes on to talk about the vulnerabilities of the machines, but at the end of the report, and this is a federal cybersecurity agency, they talk about mitigating and what can counties do to mitigate the use of these machines. And one of the bullet points is conduct rigorous post-election tabulation audits of the human readable portions of the physical ballots and paper records, to include reviewing ballot chain of custody and conducting voter ballot reconciliation procedures, and that these activities are especially, they use the word crucial, to detect attacks where the listed vulnerabilities are exploited, and they give an example, just one example of such as the barcode being manipulated to be tabulated inconsistently with the human readable portion of the paper ballot. So point being, this federal report I thought was important. It's just come out recently, but kind of more, just adding to my concerns. So I want to say on June 7th, on Election Day, I asked several questions. I see Elena's here, so maybe these questions could be answered today. But to date, they have not been. And I spoke to it on June 7th that if we're being asked to vote on these things, and I'm a sitting supervisor that doesn't know the answer to these questions, maybe I'm the only one, but I do want to, I still do want to know if our machine, if our machine have a rank choice feature, and that makes a difference in the vulnerability of that machine and the way we're counting our ballots. Can we open our machine to check for a chip modem? Is there a socket design on our machine for a chip modem to be placed if we choose to do so? Is our machine 4G wireless capable to be connected to the Secretary of State or somewhere else? And can Dominion communicate with our machines? I also, questions not to do with the machine. Do we use a contractor to clean up our voter rolls? Because I don't believe the machines are creating all of the vulnerabilities, or what I consider more vulnerabilities than we've ever had before. And are there security cameras on our drop boxes? So those are the questions that are important to me before I would consider voting to not certify, but to declare the results of any election that we've held in the county. Lastly, I want to say right now we have a group of concerned citizens spending their own money to do a partial audit, and from talking to them or what they've expressed to me, this is not to change the election results, but to restore confidence in the election process. So I appreciate these are citizens, again, giving of their own time and money. So anyway, can I ask those questions of you right now, Elena? I'll repeat them because I threw out a bunch, but.
Yes, if you'd like to respond, Ms. Kano. Before you do, could I ask Council, just for the benefit of the public, to clarify the item before us today and how it relates to the certification of the election, two separate items?
Yes, good morning, Rita Neal, County Council. So under the election code, the elections, the clerk recorder has some very specific duties when it comes to the count, verifying the count, doing a canvass, doing a hand tally, all of those things to verify the election results. At the point in time that she has gone through all the statutory requirements and has satisfied herself that the election results are accurate, then she certifies them. Basically, she's in the back room making sure that every single step is taken care of. The election code then requires the governing body, in this case the Board of Supervisors, to simply declare the results after the clerk recorder has certified it. If you think of it, in essence, what you're being asked to do is a ministerial duty. Nobody is asking you or expecting you to go back into the clerk's office to verify the work of the clerk and all of her employees. They have complied with the statute. She has done the certification as the election code requires, and now you're just being asked to declare the election results today.
Okay, thank you. And before you start, Ms. Kano, you might explain the findings that you have made and the compliance you have achieved with the election code in issuing the certification. Just that is, you are in compliance with California election code and your internal procedures, and that is why you issued that certification. If you could confirm that, we can certainly entertain any questions that you'd like to answer.
Certainly. So thank you. Good morning. Elena Kano, County Clerk Recorder. We have the certification process starts really during the canvass as we are counting each and every ballot that is eligible to be counted on, meaning it needs to be received in a timely manner. Signature letters that need to be returned by voters are taken into consideration in that time as well. We continue to count every last ballot that we possibly can up until the day of certification. Once we comply with all of that, we know that every ballot has been counted. We then declare the results at that time.
Okay, very good. And then if you'd like to answer any questions that Supervisor Arnold might pose to you.
Certainly.
Thank you, Elena. And I'm going to say something I've said a lot of times, so people have heard this before. This is not a criticism of our staff. Our staff here at the county did not implement the all-mail ballots. They did not implement they didn't make the changes in our election process that I believe have led to serious vulnerabilities. So they're doing their job. They're working really hard. As a matter of fact, I don't work in their office, but I would, if it looks to me like the changes in the election process could have made their job even harder. But anyway, so my first question was, does our machine have a ranked choice feature?
No.
No, it has no. Can we open our machine? Let's see, to check for a chip modem if we want to.
So all that technical stuff, I'm not going to be able to answer.
Okay.
The system is certified by the state, so all of the requirements that for security purposes are listed on the Secretary of State's website.
And in our May 4th, 2021 meeting, I believe the gentleman from Steve Bennett from Dominion was at that meeting, and I believe he talked about the contract, and the contract has stipulations that pretty much they're the ones that get into the machine. That's what I was just asking, if Dominion communicates with our machine or has the ability to. You guys don't know any of that kind of stuff.
Dominion does not have access into our system. No, they do not.
He made it sound like they're the ones that service it.
They build the system for us because it's held in the Secretary of State's office. Once that trusted build has been certified, then it gets delivered by the Secretary of State staff down to our office. And at that point, unless there's upgrades that need to be to that particular system that is already certified with the state, that is the upgrades that happen behind the scenes.
Okay. Do we have a contractor that cleans up our voter rolls, or do we do that ourselves?
we are responsible for voter rolls because the Secretary of State's office is actually the system of record. And so we have VoteCal. It's a statewide database that the Secretary of State manages. And then it gets filtered instantaneously. It's constantly talking. There's not a day that it happens. It happens every minute. So if you were to request a voter data right this minute, and then you asked it in about an hour, I can almost be certain that it's going to change because it changes with every voter who moves into the area, re-registers, changes their names, goes to the DMV, whatever. It changes it almost instantaneously.
Okay, and then the security cameras, do we have those on the drop boxes? The drop boxes, I think we had 18 this last election.
So our drop boxes are all inside many of our county libraries and city halls and community services districts, as well as our offices. So they're either staffed or they have surveillance cameras there.
Okay, so some of them have cameras, some of them do. Or else
yes.
they're in the building.
Yes, but they're staffed at this point is what we could, yeah.
Okay, and then I know on our staff report, and we've discussed it several times, our check and balance here at the county is our 1% tally. You all do conduct a 1% tally, but it was interesting in the staff report, it sounds like it's not at the end, it's sort of sometime during the canvassing process you all do it, and it almost sounded in this staff report like you did it in 2 segments this time. It talks about you doing precinct such and such and batch such and such, and then it sounds like later you did a little bit more, so you get your full 1% somehow out of during the course of not at the end, but during the course you count. So thank you I appreciate you being here to answer the questions. So anyway, all that being said, I'm really glad that there is a however small it is, I don't know anything about the audit, but it's an attempt to have a little audit. I don't have any more questions, Elena, so I don't mean to keep you standing, but that is being asked for and paid for by private citizens that just have concerns about the changes to our election process, same as me. And in this report, it says the purpose of this item is to have the Board of Supervisors declare the results of June 7th, 2022 statewide direct primary election as prescribed by law. So it doesn't matter to me what that means, because it's really still not clear to me what we have to make this by law. We have to make this vote. So for me, and call it a protest vote of, I won't be supporting this today. I'm not supportive of the changes to our election process, and I think that they've created so many vulnerabilities that the public is losing confidence in the election process. So I just wanted to explain my vote, and I'm ready to take it.
Any further discussion on item 10? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move to support item 10 and the certification of the June 7th primary.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, move it forward. And I want to explain something too, is that we do have a meeting set up, I think, with our county clerk recorder, you and I, and so we'll be able to bring some of these questions too, but appreciate her being here today.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please.
Supervisor Ortiz-Legg?
Yes.
Supervisor Pashon?
Yes.
Supervisor Compton?
Yes.
Supervisor Arnold?
No?
And Chairperson Gibson?
Yes.
On July 5th, Darcia Stebbins and I arrived at the county clerk's office approximately at 8:55 a.m. to observe the election activities leading up to the final vote count on July 7th. We approached the window and asked an escort to take us back to the tabulator area to observe, which has been the practice for observers since the beginning of the vote count. Elena Cano and Melissa came to the front of the area, and we requested to be observers for the day and asked if they would accompany us to the tabulator room. We were told by Elena that there was nothing to observe. That seemed odd to me because all the remaining ballots had to be scanned and signature checked. Then ballots needed to be removed from their envelopes, flattened, and prepared for counting. Cured ballots had to be signature checked and removed from their ballots and had to be pulled and prepared. Then there was ballot duplicating process that should have taken place for the spoiled ballots and other activities as well. After some discussion involving the aforementioned process, I asked, "Are you going to do anything tomorrow?" To which Elena and Melissa both confirmed that nothing observable was going to happen. Again, I thought it was unusual for such a large amount of work to be delayed until the final voting day, but we left the area with only questions, but without incident. We returned on January 7th, we returned in June at 9 a.m., June 7th at 9 a.m. for the final vote day. The group with us was signed into the observer log, ushered in the tabulator area, and we found the ballots already prepared on ready to be prepared on June 5th, had already been prepared on June 7th with no observable access to them on June 5th and 6th. This is highly irregular and can only conclude that the observers were denied access to the witness for the final preparation of the final vote count. So my question is, what are we hiding? Actions like these and others have witnessed, we have witnessed do not bode well for your claim of fair and transparent voting elections.
That was my last request to speak. Let me just